What's the haps? I'm Meroka, and today I'm going to be taking a quick look at Dyscourse by Owlchemy Labs. These guys probably best known for their work Smuggle Truck, which was best known for getting banned from Apple's iTunes store because it dealt with the subject of illegal immigration, and apparently Apple doesn't like anything that sends any kind of message to anyone. Wouldn't want that, good lord, no. At any rate, Dyscourse is a choose-your-own-adventure game about a group of survivors stranded on an island after a plane crash, and you must try and survive and make your way to rescue. We'll take a look at the options menu before we get into it. In the graphics, we have resolution options. We've got shadows, can be low, medium, high, or best quality. Rendering is just low or high. I'm pretty sure they're just based on Unity presets, to be honest. You then got some brightness options as well. Controls, not rebindable, but very, very, very simple. You got move and do action. I'm playing with a gamepad, but I don't think it would really drastically change the experience to play on a keyboard either, to be honest. Rather nice that the actual controls on the menus are actually labelled for both. A lot of games tend to either mess them up by putting the wrong ones on, or just one or the other, so it's nice they've actually got both gamepad and keyboard prompts on there to tell you what does what. Audio options, we've got music and sound effects on separate, well, they're not sliders, they're increments, but there you go. Voice effects can be toggled on or off. It's not actual voice acting, it's just kind of some sort of pseudo-language mumbling kind of thing. I'll show you some of that when we get into it, so let's head on into the game. There are two things here. We can only play Passport Rita, which is the main campaign. Our character is Rita. If you go to Passport Indie Island, I think they're planning on doing some free DLC down the line, which is predominantly centered around the indie game development scene. I guess there's going to be a bunch of indie developers stranded on an island. I don't know. I'm quite intrigued to see what that'll be like, to be honest. But we only have this at the moment. We are Rita, got some details there. She works as a barista and things that she likes and doesn't like and stuffs. So we can start a new game. As obviously this is a fairly narrative thing, so I do want to start from the top to show you things right from the beginning. So there we go. The paths you forge are your own, choose wisely. There's a lot of decision making to be done, as you might expect from choose your own adventure kind of thing, and all the things you do are going to have some kind of consequence at some point in the game. It's that kind of game where a lot of decision and a lot of consequence for your decisions, which I quite like. So, we landed on the island. This is the style. The style is obviously fairly distinctive. It's a weird style, but I kind of like it. I don't know, it doesn't lend itself to animation very well, if I'm honest. The animations of the game are kind of janky, but the style itself is pretty cool. So, got a frying pan. So you can see the animations are just kind of mostly involve the characters waving their arms wildly and leaning about a bit. But there we go. Let us go investigate the noise. We can wander around, we can investigate things. That was my seat. Things might have gone differently if we're in a window seat. If we're in a window seat, well, that might have happened. So there's a lot of things to find, there's a lot of hidden things. Some things will give you extra stuff at the end of the game. If you find things, various events that are happening, there'll be secrets hidden around the place. So investigation does bear fruit at the end of the game. There's a couple of our fellow survivors being attacked by crabs, which is kind of strange, I don't know. There's a lot of weird things happen in this story, but it's quirky and amusing, generally speaking. I don't know why the crabs keep attacking in this game. The crabs make more than one appearance at any rate. Seriously, they're just crabs. This really shouldn't be a problem. There we go. So each of the characters is kind of armed with their own weapon or tool at any rate, and they seem to have their own various purposes. And some of them will be useful if you have the right people with you for the right job. Different things can happen, so I'm going to help Steve out. We can scare the crabs by swinging the frying pan. Scare them off. Go! Shoo, crabs, shoo. But then they just go and attack Teddy. I think this one, pretty much, it's like one or the other of the two of these guys just ends up getting their legs cut up. I don't think there's a good way to end that one. I feel like there should be a good way to end most events, but it's one of those games where it gives you multiple choices, and something bad is usually going to happen no matter what you do. Sometimes it doesn't, but most of the time it'll say, which thing would you like to do? And you just have to try and figure out which consequence is going to be less detrimental to your whole situation. So yeah, let's head back to the camp. Let's go. Charlotte's going. All the characters are these sort of... They're all fairly stereotypical kind of characters. You've got Teddy there. He's kind of a conspiracy nut kind of character. He's wearing 3 watches, which is he's the kind of character who'd wear 3 watches, I guess. You got Garrett's there, the guy who's talking to me. He's kind of your neckbeardy gamer kind of character. He brings his Game Boy with him to the beach. You've got George and Jolene, kind of a farming couple, a fairly wealthy farming couple, I think, as far as we can make out. Who else have we got? We've got the other guy, Steve, I suppose, is... He was sent on a forced holiday by his company after he attacked his boss, apparently. So, yeah. He's kind of a fairly solitary life, kind of under a lot of stress. Kind of high-powered businessman, maybe, I'm not sure. You don't get a lot of details on Steve, at least not that I found. It's kind of insights into people's lives. Depending on what you find on the island, you can, or indeed who you talk to, you can get more information out of people, but you kind of have to... It warrants a few playthroughs to get all the information, because you're going to get different stuff depending on what you do, and what you can do is very, very much limited. Before you go to bed at the end of the night, you will have a chance to talk to 3 people. There are 5 people to talk to, so you can only pick 3 of them to talk to, so you can get a little bit of backstory, a bit of information out of all of them, but... Other than that, you won't get any more information. So, and the first time you play through the game, there's no way to go back. All your decisions, once you made them, you're stuck on your decisions. They've happened. You're committed to something once you've chosen it first playthrough. Once you finish the game once, it will let you do a day rewind thing, which you probably briefly saw at the start, which lets you go back and replay a day. If something has happened that you don't... If the story hasn't taken a path that you quite want to take, you can go back and undo a day in order to sort of pick better choices, which is kind of, I suppose, the way to try. It's difficult, but you can try to get a good ending. I presume the best ending is to get everybody to survive. I have not yet managed that, so I think there's a lot of replay value in trying to come up with a better ending for your story. I've played through twice now, and honestly... I've not managed to get off the island with more than 3 people alive. I've made him out with 3 people twice now. There's some events that, as far as I can make out, just seem to guarantee somebody will die, which is really kind of unfortunate. And there are other occasions where it's guaranteed that somebody will die because I brought the wrong person with me. If I brought the right person for the job, they would have had the tools, their equipment that they had brought with them would allow them to survive things, so you do need to give some consideration to it. And first time through the game, you're probably not going to figure things out, and you're probably not going to be able to be given a chance to figure things out. You're not going to know what's coming up ahead, what tools would be appropriate for the job, and ultimately, people are going to die. So second time you play through the game, you might actually know what's coming up, what's going to happen, so you can prepare for things. So you can try and work for a better ending, and I think there's some replay value in that. Alrighty, so the first significant noteworthy event is the boar has stolen our food. We can go chase it. Me, Jolene, and George... Well, Jolene and George want to go chase the boar down. I can choose to go with them and help try and attack the boar, or I can stay and protect the remaining food with the other 3 guys. There's also, I'm not ready for all this, but I don't think that goes anywhere. I'm not ready for all this. Okay, anybody else gonna get it back? Do they just go? I think they just go without it. Yeah. That was probably a really bad decision, to be honest. But yeah, I guess that it counts as I'm going to stay here. But okay. I think there is a way to kill the boar as well, but again, there's decisions to be made if you try and take the boar on, and I've not managed to do that. No time to lose, we need a plan to defend our food. Some of the decisions are going to be kind of snap decisions. If there's something, you know, attacking you, you're not going to have time to sit and ponder it, and in a kind of a little bit of a telltale kind of way, it'll have a little timer that ticks down that says, okay, look, you've got 3 options, pick one within the next 5 seconds or however long it gives you, otherwise, well, you know, the boar's going to attack you or whatever. So, at this moment in time I do have this choice, but I think in a moment, I think we need to sort of act fast. So... I got this, stay on your toes. I got this. I honestly haven't found a way that Rita dies in the story, which feels a little cheaty, but it's kind of quick. Fairly early on I kind of clocked that if I volunteer to do stuff, generally speaking, situations tend to come out better. If you send someone else in to do it, they're going to get injured, if not killed. If I do it, I'm just like, oh, everything seemed to go okay. I don't know, maybe that's kind of cheaty, maybe that's even a slightly spoiler, but I figured that out fairly quickly, so I don't know. I kind of feel like there should be a bad ending where everybody dies, but like I say, even still, it seems to be It seems to be difficult to get everybody killed, but it's also really, really difficult to get everybody to survive as well. So you're usually kind of winding up in some kind of middle ground where only some of the people on the island are going to get out alive. So I'll be fighting with a frying pan. Let's see the guy's tools. He's got a stapler. Why he brought a stapler with him, I don't know. I'm not sure. Maybe he's Milton from Office Space. My trusty metal detector can give a good beating, so he's going to have a metal detector. That's got a few uses in the game. And there we go. There's the options. We've got stand your ground or run away. Time, quick. I'm going to stand our ground. But Garrett's going to get himself injured in the process. God damn it, Garrett. What the heck was that? He thought he could help. So, yeah, you got the frying pan. The frying pan is good for clobbering stuff mostly, I think, is its primary purpose. Like I say, each of them has their own tools, and I think if you go over to fight the boar, you can throw the frying pan at the boar, and it's an utterly useless one. I'm not actually sure how that situation goes down, but there's a few different paths you can choose. There'll be, on the next few days... there's a few options to explore the island and do things and set things up. After a few days, the events start unfolding, and they're going to unfold fairly similarly each time. You're going to run into a storm, there's going to be a storm, and you're going to have an option to try and seek shelter from the storm, and you're probably going to end up... I think you're almost certainly going to end up losing a day to the storm because the weather doesn't clear up and you can't do anything. And then you're going to come to a finale where you actually need to try and find a way off the island. Based on what you've already learned from the events of the previous few days, depending on what you've done, you may have learned that certain things are on the island, certain things might not be on the island. So you're going to have a few choices to figure out exactly how to try to get off the island. And from what I've seen, it usually does seem to conclude in at least getting off the island one way or another. You seem to figure something out. Whether there's an option where you don't get off the island, I'm not sure. There may well be, but I know of at least 3 major endings. You know, there's different ways to get off the island. Obviously, those are then highly variable depending on who survived and whatnot. So, these two are going to come back. Let's see if they got the boar. So where's the boar? They didn't get it after all, did they? No. Well, I could have gone and got it. Maybe. I don't know. I've tried to get the ball once and it didn't happen. So, yeah. The soundtrack to this game is rather good. It's a ridiculously huge soundtrack. There's like 77 songs in the soundtrack and it's all very good. It's great listening. And I'm enjoying it immensely. So the style's good and the soundtrack's good. It's a very enjoyable game just to experience. And the endings, you do get to learn a little bit more, maybe some backstory, a bit of epilogue stuff. It'll give you like some newspaper cuttings on a notice board that says this happened to this character since then, this happened to this character since then, this happened to this person, so and so happened because of this, and things that you find on the island may influence bits of the story and the aftermath of things. So that's always really interesting as well. There's other things. I get the impression there's kind of some kind of hidden storyline, maybe a bit of a conspiracy going on. Maybe Teddy isn't entirely crazy. Like I say, he's continually feeling like the government's behind everything or aliens or something. One kind of gets the impression that there is something greater going on from the bits that you pick up, but I've not found everything in the right order. I think also depending on which events you pick in which order, you'll have access to different stuff, because I've tried doing the same event twice but on different days, and ultimately wound up with not finding some documents that I found the first time. When I played through the second time on a different day, there were some documents that were just lying around in an envelope on the beach that actually turned out weren't there the next time I went to it. So that played out entirely differently. So again, things that were learned the first time around were not learned the second time around, and that influenced the ultimate outcome at the end of the story as well. So it's all really interesting. I think there's an element of min-maxing and trying to strategize the best route through the game, and that's kind of satisfying. I kind of want to play through the game a bunch of times just to try and figure things out. I mean, things that I know from playing through the game twice, I now feel like, can I do this better? I want to do this. If I go back and do the events, but keep certain characters alive. Say, I need George and his fishing rod. There's an event that I know requires a fishing rod, and we utterly failed it, and someone died last time because we didn't bring a fishing rod. Well, next time I'm going to try and bring George on that event, and George can use his fishing rod to save us. Oh, what about Teddy? Teddy's got his metal detector, and there's an event that needs a metal detector, so that could go differently. It's only just dawned on me that there was another event I did where Steve was like, oh, thank God I had my trusty stapler there, and I'm not even sure how that event would have gone if you didn't have Steve. If Steve had died earlier in the story and suddenly you're trying to do this event and you didn't have a stapler to, you know, use the stapler for the ends that it required it, I'm not sure how that's going to go. And again, I kind of want to play through it again without the stapler just to see how it does go, just to see what actually happens there. That might be just a way to completely fail the game, or more people might die from the ensuing event that happens because you didn't have a stapler. It's a really interesting game to go back and see how things affect things. It's maybe a little bit more linear, maybe it's not quite as in-depth as something like Always Sometimes Monsters, which I've always championed as being one of the ultimate games of choice in narrative. But it's still a fascinating story, and I'm really, really intrigued and invested in trying to figure out the best way to find it off this island. So let's talk to Teddy a bit. The whole system is simply outrageous. So you have a bit of a chat with him, so he's going to go on about his conspiracy theories. You can chat to him. There's a few options. I think you're being paranoid. I do make a mean latte, that's my skill. And he's going to go to sleep once we talk to him. Like I say, there's 5 people here, so I can talk to three of them. We can learn a bit of backstory. So he's going to talk video games, to be honest. That's kind of his thing. Yeah, you're right, we're all going to die. But there you go. There's not a lot more to tell you about this, I think, to be honest. This is kind of the majority of it, and I don't want to go too far into the game, again, for, like most with the narrative things, for fear of spoilers, predominantly. Most of it is just walk around and interact with objects, but there's a lot of interesting things to see and find, and just finding what affects what and how all the events interrelate to each other. I mean, again, for example, one of the great things, because I failed to defend Teddy on the beach, there is a event later on in the game where if I take Teddy with me to go do a different event that occurs, he's going to be slow walking because his legs are all cut up. He's not going to be able to move as fast, and we're going to end up having to... I'm pretty sure you just end up wasting a day because he's moving so much slower. You end up having to camp down somewhere else because he was slow, and you take a day longer to do the event than you would otherwise. So I think maybe if his legs weren't cut up, you could take him with you, and you might get back faster, and that might save another character's life, because ultimately, the consequence of that, someone ended up dying. My one main gripe, I think, in terms of the game, is just, it's a technical issue. It's doing it now. There's no dead zone sensitivity in the options, which means that my character continually finds herself walking right for, like, no obvious reason. She kind of wanders around quite often wanders off of her own accord, just because my controller doesn't have a dead zone well, the game doesn't have dead zone sensitivity, and my controller is quite sensitive, so it can quite easily just end up wandering off to the right for some reason. Which is kind of annoying, but it's not a major deal. Other than that, there is a lot to like about this game, and I have no problems recommending it whatsoever. It's a great story. It looks amazing. It doesn't lend itself well to the animation, no, but it looks really good. And the music is fantastic as well. It's very, very easy to recommend this game for me. I would absolutely recommend you pick it up. it is £10.99, or your regional equivalent, which, for a game that is this short, so say I played through it twice now, and I've only been playing it 2.5 hours, so you're looking at 60 to 90 minutes on one playthrough, but it really, really, really encourages multiple playthroughs. To get the most out of the game, you're probably going to want to play through this game a bunch of times. So, yeah, if you're just going to play through it once, maybe £10.99 is going to be a fairly steep price tag, but, you know, I think it needs to be played through more than once just to get the most out of it. So if you play through it many times and try to get all the survivors, that's going to be worth your money. It depends what your attitude to this kind of game is, I suppose. This is available now on Steam. It's available for Windows, Mac, and Linux. As I say, I will very heartily recommend this, so that will probably go on my Steam curation page as well. But that'll do it for now, I think. Thank you very much for watching. I've been Meroka. This has been Dyscourse. I will see you next time.